Well, hello there. I'm going to show you how to do the Ripple Road stitch. It's really not a hard stitch to do. It's just a 2-row stitch, and I'm not using any purls, and it's looking nice and flat. Nice and flat to me. You can see the other side here. There. And this is what it looks like on the other side. It looks really nice on the other side too. And it looks really nice on the main side. And I don't know if this camera is really picking up the amount of texture in it. It's a beautifully textured stitch. I'm using a bulky yarn. It's a thinner bulky yarn, not really thick. And I'm on a 5/8 inch loom. And this is just one of the looms in the Loops and Threads circle loom set. Now, it's just a stitch video, so I'm not going to show you everything, but I will certainly give you tips and things so that you'll be able to make a project. So the yarn I'm using is Red Heart Gemstone yarn, and it's in the color Peridot. And this is it. It's a thinner bulky, that's for sure. It's not very thick, but it is a bulky. It's not a worsted weight. Okay, so I'll just put that up here, and I'll show you how to do the stitch. Okay, so it's really quite easy. To cast on, I just did a crochet chain cast on, and you can see the one I do on my channel. And then I did 2 rows of owl eye on the border, and then I'm doing an owl eye edge. And it just gives you this edge, but of course you're welcome to use any edge that you like. Okay, so I'll just show you how to do the stitch, and while I'm at it I'll show you the edges I'm doing for this particular project. Okay, so row 1 of this stitch is just owl eye stitch. And I have a video on owl eye if you want to know how to do that, or to do the foundation stitches that are after the cast on. But we will do it now. And whatever peg you're on is peg 1. So you take the working yarn, you wrap peg 1 and peg 2, and you just knit them off, and you do the stitch nice and loose. So over peg 1, over peg 2, nice and loose. If you find you're too tight, just pull your yarn, make it looser. You can always knit as loose as you want just by pulling on your yarn and loosening it up. Peg 1, over peg 1 and 2, knit it off. And you're going to want to keep it loose because it's easier on you, for one thing, and you're not going to get so many problems in your wrist and hand. Okay, now the edge I'm doing is just an owl eye edge, so I just keep going. And make sure your edge stays loose, because if you don't want your work to curl, you don't want to end up with a tight edge and a looser work, because the tight will roll towards the loose. So you keep your edge loose. And like I say, pull on it if you need to keep it loose. You know, you can pull on it after too. Keep it nice and loose. And then I'm just going to knit it over. And do my second wrap for my owl eye. And now I go into the second row. And the second row is my twisted ripple stitch. So I have a video with twisted ripple, both in a project and a stitch video. So look that up if you want to look at the stitch more. Now to do it, it's really quite easy. You just go over your peg in a U-wrap, knit it off, come around and back in front of the peg again, knit it off, come back in front of it again, and this time you're going to do a purl over stitch. Now to do the purl over, and we'll just zoom in a bit, is you come down, go under the yarn, scoop it up, and then go over the yarn on top and pull the yarn through and then just flip it over. So it's like doing a true knit stitch, but you don't knit it off. Instead, you just flip it over. Come over now, knit, re-wrap, come around again, scoop up from under, go over, pull it over, and you might want to snug it up a little bit. I'm just going to pause for a second. Okay, so we're at the next peg. Knit it once, come back over front, knit it again, come over, and as you notice I'm doing this quite loose. Pull the working yarn up, over, and just pull it over. I've done a lot of them so I get the right tension. If you find you're too tight right after you do it, just loosen it up. Keep them loose. Purl over can get very tight. Now the purl over stitch is Theresa Higby's stitch, and she gave me permission to use it. So I've been combining it with my stitches and getting all kinds of interesting stitches. I just love it because what it does is it tightens up your work and defines your stitch. Okay, so I had the first U-wrap, I put on the second, come back over, and do the purl over stitch. Okay, so knit, knit, come over, do the purl over stitch, and see once you've pulled it out, you can just put it on, especially if you have a yarn that's hard to work with, and then just tighten it to where you want it, and if it's too tight, just loosen it. So, over once, over twice, third time, scooping it up and flipping it over. Now there's a little gear and it's on the bottom right of your video, and if you click on that you can slow down the video. So if you need to slow it down to see what I'm doing, you do that. It will really help. 1, 2, over 3. And then for the edge, I'm just doing the owl eye stitch, and I'm keeping my edge nice and loose. Nice and loose. Okay, making sure it's loose. You can always pull it out. And then it's owl eye. So back to the first row, and it's owl eye again. Very easy. You're always on peg 1, wrapping peg 1 and 2. On peg 1, wrapping peg 1 and 2. Peg 1, wrapping peg 1 and 2. And then back over to the edge. Continuing to do the owl eye stitch, keeping it loose. You can always loosen it up if you need to. You want it to be nice and loose at the edge. And then doing the second wrap on the owl eye when you're going this way. Okay, then you do 1, come back around, 2, and 3 times around, and then under. Scoop up the yarn on top and flip it over. U-wrap, go around, do another U-wrap, go around with working yarn on top, come down, pull the yarn, and this time I'll just show you again. You just pull it out. Make sure it's not twisted. If it's twisted, untwist it. Put it on and just snug it up, and if it's too snug, loosen it. So U-knit, do it again, come back around, and scoop it up, and that's all there is to it, just the 2 rows. Now you can do this stitch in the round if you wanted to, just 2 rows. And again, here's what it looks like. See if I can get it close. You can see it has a lot of texture, a lot of stitch definition. I'll come around and look at it this way. Now, the reason I named it Ripple Road, we'll see if I can pick it up in here. You can just see there's these rows of stitches, and they kind of look like little cobblestones to me, but they're very ripply. So anyway, that's how it got Ripple Road name. But yeah, we'll just come up, see if I can get you to really see the stitch definition. It's really quite pretty, and there's a lot of texture. There, that's showing the stitch better. A lot of texture, and I'll show you the other side because I think the other side looks really, really nice in its own right. Look at that intricate type looking stitches. So you can use both sides. So there you are. That's how you do the stitch. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And so until next time, we'll see you.